Lavetten Lake on the way to Stockholm.
Ông đi mình vậy chán á, đi lang thang mình, ông già đó với cái thằng gì đó, cái thằng Mỹ đó, hai ba ông chụp với nhau.
Cái nhà ở Sweden.
Anh học tiếng Pháp anh cũng tới đích luôn, tới bằng lấy cái bằng luôn á. Làm gì cũng nói tới trốn, không có give up. Wow, cái style có vẻ mới quá ha, cái cửa nè, 10 gỗ hả bà?
10 cái trâu.
Tức con Sơn Dương. Cái nhà này hay ha. You see, nice hả?
Đây là nước đất rộng rồi nhà, mà xây gì chứ? Mình chơi đằng kia đằng Denmark á, toàn cái apartment không à?
Tại vì nhà nhỏ, tại vì không có đất.
Núi chỗ cái trạm dừng chân trên đường đi Stockholm, Sweden. Gần bên cạnh mình là hồ Latin. Stop layover. Sweden flag. Parking for bus. That for bus. Sweden is small. Chrysler. I think for small car. Hamburger, water hamburger, cafe. Let's stop. The gas station can stay on. Pay till 24 hours. Let's go to Stockholm. The other way on the left hand side go to Helsingborg. E4. Stay on. About $2 a liter. Yeah, about $2 a liter. Yeah, gasoline. Banana. $4 a kilo. $2 price. Yes. $4 kilo. $2 a pound.
The petrol station, even here. Our hotel, we're going straight in, it's on the left hand side, but if you to carry on going up the road, there's a road in front of it, that will take you, there is over on the right hand side a sort of supermarket centre, shopping centre, and they also have an ATM at the shopping centre where the supermarket is if you need to get money on a card, and then just straight down that road is also a
Nhìn trong ấy mà, nhìn trong cái đó. Cái đi có theo đây.
Bu nè ba nè.
Hả?
Có bu với lại sauna.
Xuống tắm đi. Bây giờ mấy giờ rồi? 4 giờ. Bây giờ. Hotel in Stockholm.
Tillslagen så är hemstaden Göteborg. Sven Nylander tar time-out efter knarkrazzan och ljus framtid för svensk handboll.
Cái tường này nó hay, cái chữ O trên đầu nó hay có cái chấm chấm á, hay chấm.
So the city authorities want to preserve the look of the city. And that's why many people, that you can't find accommodation in the centre of Stockholm. The statistics vary because it depends on how they define the centre, but more or less the centre of the city has a population of about 600,000 people, but taking in all the suburbs, dormitory suburbs, we're going over to 1.2 million, so you can double it, but half the people living outside the centre. And another landmark you'll see from the tower, if you look to the right, they're horses, but I'm not sure they're very well known for their sense of humour. But one of the Stockholm guides, a gentleman, used to tell our passengers that tower, can you see it now with the light flashing in the background? The TV tower was a relay tower during the Soviet years between the Soviet Union and United States. And because Sweden was a neutral country, they communicated via that telecommunications tower. And when Reagan and Gorbachev were on the phone to each other, that light would flash. And of course, all the tourists came back really thinking there. The tower itself is 508 feet high, which means the viewing platform is actually at a level of the second level of the Eiffel Tower. If you've been to Paris and you've been up the Eiffel Tower, then you'll know that this is a very, very good height to go to. Normally, most tourists don't go for the view to the top of the Eiffel Tower because it's too high, and you can't see. You can pick out like from a plane, but you can't pick out the buildings and everything as well. So it's the same height as the second level of the Eiffel Tower. And express lift will take us to the top. There is a wait.
Cái nãy để gì đó? Casablanca.
Asia City các bạn. Nó là giống như là cái store đó.
Is all the buildings around here. These are foreign embassies and ambassadors' residences, and then there's a much more modest one coming up here on the left amongst all the trees here and the gardens. This one is the Norwegian embassy with the Norwegian flag flying. The Seawater on the right-hand side, they were advertising an exhibition that is on there at the moment.
Stuck around. Right, the large white ship. So, if you look, going from that ship, move towards your right, and you can see there's like an island, and there's various church towers there. Can you see that? So that's actually the Old Town Island. So that was the beginning, the settlement. And everything beyond it, behind that, is the freshwater lake. And it forms like a barrier. And then on this side, all the water that you can see is the sea, the Baltic. Okay? So the island's in the middle. Tomorrow we're going to see the old town, but that's making the barrier between it. When you look at the island, you can see various different church towers. Where the church towers is, that's all old medieval streets and houses. old market squares and so on. But on the very right-hand side of it, there are got gold on top of it. Can you see just the shining? That's the city hall. So it's got a beautiful location on the banks of the lake. So again, we're going to all these places, but you can picture it now how we're going to see it. Then the commercial side of the city is all the area over towards the right-hand side. Here in front of us, all the greenery you can see, which is recreational island. Then, if you look down...
Tự nhiên nó có registry là nước Pháp, nó Kingdom có. Nước neutral nó không có kiểu mà ấy như kia. Nước Pháp đi khách đổ ra mang về. Ông này làm vợ ông nhớ không?
Chụp cái này, chụp này tấm đi.
Shop just behind there, and 5 o'clock we'll sail out from there, chugging out towards the sea. You can see the bridge, quite interesting, that bridge crosses over to another island, and on the right-hand side of the bridge is a very lovely sculpture park, which was the home of the famous Swedish sculptor Carl Milles, and also many of his works are in the gardens. And then closer towards us there's another terminal, and ships sail from there. You can sail directly overnight to Estonia, to Tallinn, and that's where the ship Estonia sailed from. Also to Riga and to St. Petersburg as well. Yeah, and then they come in and out exactly the same way. And also, I mean, cargo ships and so on come in through here. And then it sails out this way, and you can see the direction that the ship is taking now. It takes from here to the open sea 3 hours to sail. But the reason larger ones are icebreakers, like the Silver Line is icebreakers. A friend of mine, father used to live here in Stockholm, he used to go regularly on that ship crossing on the...
Không nói sao ăn?
Không nói gì, không nói gì.
Tôi nói no là sao ăn, không nói gì.
Sao ăn sao không? Tại vì em nói anh rồi, anh ăn cái hamburger. Đúng nghe lời mà. Tới ta để dành một ta ăn cái thịt, ta ăn tasty đồ của nó mà lại đi ăn hamburger xíu hồi trước khi ấy.
Ơi đi đẹp ghê, đẹp dễ sợ ha. Đẹp dễ sợ chứ không phải ít đâu, nhiều đảo đó. Có đảo gì? Ở cái đảo đó cũng ngon.
Bà này bà không phải người Finland thì tôi có người gì đó, bà này có người Estonia bà đi đó. Bà này là bà đưa rai mình nè. Không phải người.
Bên có người nên mà.
Phải đâu bà nói là ba má ba người Estonia với ba người.
Probably the other way around.
Would you like?
Yes, why not? Oh, is that local?
Absolutely.
Absolutely vodka.
That's vodka.
It's absolutely vodka, yeah.
Anyone like to shot ski? Shot ski? Ladies, please.
How you compare with the other?
It's good. It's good.
Yeah, good. But
You come back for a second, so it can't be too bad.
like we drink this one, I drink 2 cups, go there and go drink beer, mix together, you know, kind of beer. Because you know, they said you know you cannot mix different kind together, make you crazy.
Is getting in the region between 80 and 100 krona, so it's expensive.
This is our line, isn't it?
Bar, we have our reservation slot is at 6:45, 6:45, and we've got. You can see one word in the shops a lot, REA, R-E-A. That's a sale, by the way, which means that instead of things costing 4 times as much, they're only double the normal price. And this is the concert hall on the left-hand side. You can see the local market along here, and
Local market.
Okay, we just need to handle this to about 15 minutes or so while the...
Yes, we're open from noon till midnight. Just sometimes.
Rồi vô mà không cho nó chụp cho em với anh này.
Được. Nó chụp rồi.
Take the glasses.
Can you move? Thank you. Easy here now.
Nó không quay được. Có được ăn chưa?
Đưa gì?
Đưa chồng gì ta?
Gặp riêng ba hiểu không? Bà kêu em là để đó viết trong cái cuốn sách này. Tour đó, đằng sau cuốn sách nó có cái...
Chỉ bạn hả?
Gặp người nào rồi. Con muốn qua cái chỗ cái lâu đài đó, không ra chỗ lâu đài đó.
Từ.
Dạ là Thái đi. Ở đây nó có móc túi giật đồ.
Cái gì đâu?
Giờ bên Mỹ ăn uống xíu.
Thế hả?
Quy định
Em cứ train, nếu mà đi train nó vậy.
Search exhibitions and so on.
Oh, the windmill is cute. Associated windmills with the Dutch.
I saw it before, but I've sort of turned myself around.
Go inside.
inside the city hall. Well, I guess and I dare to say that the Stockholm Town Hall, or this is where the local government of Stockholm reside now, a king and a queen and royal family. And they have their house over there. That's the square building, the Royal Palace, which is located in the old town. We'll pass by it later today. And the nice thing with Stockholm being the capital of Sweden is that it's having lots of water. So we have 14 islands, and the old town is the eldest, of course, that we will also see is here. And then there are 14 islands, and these 14 islands are combined by 52 bridges. And you just came in on the Western Bridge and passed by the Southern Island and the Långholmen Island. And just across us, on the other side of the lake, we have a former old... beautiful statues that have different references, and all is very close linked with the water to emphasize Stockholm being a seaside town. So would you come from the other side, and when we are on the other side of the hall, standing on the water, and this was of course also the intention of the art. Centimeter or millimeter, 1,348 guests is the maximum of what the fire authorities allow to have here in this blue hall. And then the blue hall is nicely decorated with flowers from, they always are flown from Monaco in Italy, because Alfred Nobel lived there and died there. So this is free of charge. Flowers are sent from Italy to Stockholm. So this is a fantastic event. And not ever, never has a waiter lost his dessert when going down the stairs. You can just imagine the horror when everything has to be done and arranged. So fantastic lottery, they can attend a lottery, and there are 200 seats for them. So this is a fantastic event. But it's not only for the Nobel banquet. Could you come a little closer maybe, then I will not disturb my German colleague tonight. But it's not only for the Nobel banquet, but also concerts, any regular school concerts, because from the public school, or Lucia concert, you know, the symbol for the light. I guess all the office rooms are still empty, but they're both meeting rooms, office rooms of members of city council. Very good, 49, exactly. It's
50
not
women.
rotation, but they have really worked a lot on recruiting more women into the not only sports arenas or hockey rinks, or also centers for children and daycare centers and elderly and so forth. So we have a fairly good mixture, but of course it depends on the person itself, the individual capacity, not if it's a man or a woman. And now we, in a good month's time only, or 5 weeks, we're going to have elections. So I think today or yesterday, the first posters of all the promises that we now are hearing from all the different parties. So we are awaiting a fantastic future, of course, according to all what we will hear now in the months to come. But what is interesting in Stockholm is that there is a rather good change between the left and the right bloc, and no one is in power, so you cannot take your offer. And so let's turn to a factory in Shanghai, sent over the patterns. But surprise, surprise, when the second version designed, but that's the second version. Well, yeah, but we don't mind, they are. And
City Hall. Có few minutes thôi, mọi người được 3 phút thôi.
Lake. And here we're passing by the government headquarters, the orange building on our left, where the Prime Minister Göran Persson and his 8 men and women ministers are residing. So the government headquarters to your left. Then we also see the Parliament building here on our left, the brown building with the modern glass on top. And here we'll pass and go through and come into the old town. The eldest part of Stockholm, as it meet in this house of nobility for weddings or meetings or kinds of receptions. And the old town goes back here to the 13th century. And here, coming up, is the second eldest church with a black iron spire right in front of us. This used both to be a monastery, a hospital, church, and today this is museum. Here all our kings and queens, except the Queen Christina, you've heard of, are buried until 1950. And then we also have a statue of the founder of Stockholm, Birger Jarl, here on the column. And here is our next stop, and maybe this is the most typical view one can have in Stockholm. And you can on the Stockholm City Hall.
When I go in, I'm going in the back door. Yes, I am.
And I was looking for the swans here on your right. Some are real and some are not. It seems I was having to look twice. You can do so too. I think there will be some kind of duck race, if I may guess. And here we are then leaving the mainland, going over to the old town. And here we can have a better view, both of the ducks, the real ones and the false ones. The city hall way back with 3 golden crowns on top. The parliament with Mother Sweden, the statue on roof. And then the big building coming up here is the Royal Palace, complete. And according to the weather forecast, it should be sunny by lunchtime, so let's hope so. We never know. It changed yesterday also to the better very suddenly. And you see it's rather smooth water, which is nice for a sea cruise, and there's always busy traffic here on the sea. You're born on the island here, you speak a very special southern dialect that you're proud of and stick to. And if you're born here, you could never consider to live on the other side of the lock in one of the other parts of Stockholm. So this is maybe local patriotism that you find little here and there, but so we are now very 5-minute stop here only.
Budapest đẹp nhiều chứ. Tại vì Budapest nó cổ kính hơn.
Nó hay Budapest đâu nhiều nước gì đâu.
And the Vasa Museum is behind the fortress with the flag. We have a building with masts sticking out. And that's where the Vasa Museum is located, inside here.
Cái bridge đó là cái gì bạn nói nãy?
That's nice for a ship ride.
What's this right in the middle with the flag? Is that Royal Palace?
No, the Royal Palace is over there, just up above the white road. Is this brown square building? That's where the Royal Palace is. And this is the amusement park, and here this is, I don't know. Small ferry in between the Old Town and the Deer Garden Island goes every quarter of an hour the whole year around. A white ship with 3 masts. This was once a school ship that has sailed all around the world. It's now lying there as a permanent youth.
Chắc siêu, đi siêu gặp mấy người này. Tôi đấy.
Vậy mình tới.
Ra cái một cái áo thun hả? Đó. Trái gì mình ăn vậy? Ăn không mua đó. Cherry rất rẻ không?
Cherry. Nästan.
Thôi được rồi.
This is 100 cup, but I give you 1 kilo for 80. This is 9.90 for 100 cup. You can buy half kilo for 40.
690 phải không? Cũng dữ à, dân đây cũng ngầu nữa.
Quá là giá
luôn á. Nếu mà về mình cứ vô mấy cái supermarket cái đừng mua ở ngoài đây. Mấy người này cũng dữ lắm á. Ăn cái nấm ngọt quá hả ba? Cái nấm gì ngọt hả? Còn 10 đô á ba. Chuối à.
Rồi. Cái đó 10 đô gì?
10 đồng rôn tức là
không rẻ, đồng mấy. Đồng mấy bao? Đồng bao, có như đồng bao, có đồng gần đồng bao. Rẻ cũng được thôi.
hai trái xoài nè, 2 trái xoài.
2 anh đồng trái. Đó, cái đường đồng trái đúng rồi. Gần bằng kia có từ
được, nó
thở,
bé không?
Nói
thì nó phải nói người chứ nói cái gì mà can happen nó nói. Nguyên ngoài nó vô trong này. Dễ sợ chỗ này. Dễ sợ luôn. Đi tiểu nhớ nhắc nhớ kêu em nha. Ở đây thế nào cũng có. Đây kìa, trên này.
ăn uống này.
Ăn uống dữ ha. Quá trời luôn rồi. Food blogger đủ tiền hết.
But on this island that the industrialism started up here in Stockholm. It used to be a proletarian part of the town with a large factory. They made a factory called Linders, who made things out of cast iron. Everything that you can do out of cast iron. And there were a lot of other factories out here too. It all changed in the 1950s, and today it's a very posh living area. As you can see, the area up here on the left-hand side is called Sankt Erik. And I will tell you more about this Sankt Erik estate by the Vatican, but it's the same here. Lite information från kaptenen här. So this is our main central station for commuter trains, for large distance trains, and for the Arlanda Express. As you can see, we pass by here.
1:35 right now, PM.
And it's also the main connecting point of our subway, Tunnelbana. And we've had subway here in space in the water. So they wanted to put light into the apartment, and this was really opposite to what they had been doing in the 19th century earlier, when they built very heavy architecture. We are now passing on the left-hand side what we call the Sports Palace. When they built this living area in the 1940s, they also built this.
Nó ngồi những tòa nhà kia.
Då så, mina damer och herrar, kommer vi fram till Karlbergs slott här uppe på vår högra sida. Och det här vackra slottet, det byggdes på 1700-talet. Karl XII:s jaktslott var det. Det var väldigt glad när han fick höra att det hade tagits in vargar på Djurgården. Då stack han ut och hade vargjakt. Och då tog han med sig sina jakthundar. Han hade en favorithund som hette Pompe, och när den hunden dog så hade han med Pompe. He always started his hunting trips into Djurgården from here. And he liked to go hunting for wolves mostly. And he always brought with him his dogs, and they all their own vegetables and get some more vitamins. Det var faktiskt så att marken här ute, det ägdes av en ätt som heter Lampa. En jättestor ätt i Stockholm med ägt mark här i nästan 300 år. Och den stora gårdsherren Claes Lampa tyckte man att det var så vidsträckt så det påminner ju om Pampas i Argentina, så blev det Lampas Lampa. Och idag så heter det Pampas, så ingen mindre on a houseboat. Almost like a living area but on water. It's a quite new phenomenon here in Stockholm. Many people have been living on houseboats but 1930s and 40s, and they were mostly built for families, numerous family apartments they call them. If you were a family with more than 2 children, you could pass the line and get an apartment here. There were many people waiting in line for apartments, but if you had many children, you could easily get an apartment. We have on our right-hand side now. And this used to be the most densely populated area in Europe up to the 1950s. Det kallas för dragspelshus. Ladies and gentlemen, där har jag kantiga tornet med de 3 kronorna på toppen. Och det här var ju Ragnar Öst.
tôi cao lắm đàng hoàng hết. Hay ha, thế thì ra hay, lần đầu tiên mình ngủ như vậy.
Được, nấm nhỏ ngọt là khó khăn tiếp rồi kia chứ. Not bad.
This is the cabin of the cruise ship. Thấy kỹ thôi. Information nữa nè.
Quá trời bão luôn nha, quá dừng ở đất luôn đây. Nước đất liên thì là liên, nước sạch quá rồi. Thấy không, báo hiếu là island nè, ở ngoài kia nữa kìa, cục nhỏ nhỏ. Nhà ở đây cũng sướng quá hả? Mấy cái có nhiều người ở trong mấy cái island bên kia, nãy kia thấy có người ở.
Cái nhà ngoài island này cũng tốt rồi. Ở đây là cái nhà này. Nhà coi biển nè.
Det finns massa vikar som går in så här. Och sen går det här solens håll som kommer att bli så en liksom fortsätter bli ner. Det vet jag man som vuxit igen. Så när man kommer närmare så ska kolla. En genväg. Det finns det är som ett uträttat. Men sen kan man åka igenom här.
Đó nô với mình đó.
Det är som flera lager. Det är ett lager på pass. Sen är det kanske...
Sätt där, sätt. Sätt.
Nó nhìn chim rồi.
Đưa em mượn cái máy hình em chụp cho anh. Được không? Dạ chụp, dạ đứng ngoài kia đứng này. Mấy cái nhà ở đã quá trời thôi. Ở nhà ở trong rừng á, ở trong rừng vừa nước vừa rừng. Mấy người ở đây chắc phải có bốt quá mới đi được chứ. Đi vô chưa ba, lạnh quá rồi. You see the sun and the moon, huh? You see the moon and the sun at the same time, but the moon here, the sun there, see? Wow! Chụp hình đi, chụp hình đi. The moon and the sun at the same time.
Ja sieltä tulee tänne näin.
Kommer den andra strax. Man kan åka med den här också. Nej, det är svårt.
giờ 50 sáng ở biển đi từ Stockholm qua Finland. Can be now we're on the way to Finland from Stockholm by ferry. Overnight we sleep on the ferry last night.
Sleep on cabin ferry. Ngủ cái mùi nó khô hết rồi, cháy mùi hết rồi. Finland. We want to arrive Finland in 1 hour. Finland on the side. So you stay here all night?
Yeah, all night, yeah. I'd like to actually. Would have been a bit cold though. You had a good night at...
That's Finland.
Giờ là cá voi nó đang ở Hawaii á. Về Hawaii nó xanh.
Finland. Outside. Finland. khó lắm mà. Thì không nghĩ đâu. Không nghĩ vô là cũng khó lắm. Thấy mà có thể không đi gì giống như đó không?
Hướng này là mua ở đó.
Vô đó.
Passport control kìa.
We come to Finland passport control.
Người ta đi vô đó kìa.
Đâu? Đâu? Oh, cái fortress.
Giống cái này cái thành của nó ngày xưa nó đánh nhau đúng à? Thấy vẻ xưa nè. Nhìn thấy vậy thôi đi lát nữa đừng đi Canal Tour nữa. Canal quá đi mấy tiếng đồng hồ trên tàu rồi ngồi tàu. Thấy không? Có ý nó chở tới đó. Đi Canal Tour.
Chắc cái này cái fortress đó. Fortress đó. Chắc nó tour liều fortress. Anh coi rồi cái đó đó. Có cái nón nữa kìa. Có cái đó là fortress đó. Là fortress.
Vậy mà nó vô lọt hết đó chứ thấy không? Chắc đúng rồi chỗ này cái thành để này
Nhà đó là nước rồi nó yên.
Tosi spesiaali. Ja sitten tää muutenkin. Tainoa mikä on.
đó Sơn á, mà disimport là cũng phải 10 giờ, bây giờ mấy.
Helsinki, Finland. Nó ra lại nữa.
Chắc vô cái boss đó spot.
Now get out the cruise ship. Finland.
June, July, August. Maybe July is the most popular one, so maybe therefore not so much, not so busy as during the winter time. So on a August day like what we have now. I'm going to sit down, but just standing for a moment so that you can see me. What we are doing is that we have 2 stops on the way at the Sibelius Monument at the Senate Square. I will be telling you more about the history and things like that a little bit later, but what we first do is that we drive a little bit southwards, since our nose was pointing that way, and we are going to drive around the peak of the peninsula of Helsinki. You can see water all over. For instance, here on the left side, there is a red-roofed building on an island, a rocky island. That's one of the 315 islands Helsinki has. It's a summer restaurant. A statue of a piece was there also, if you saw a statue.
Water all over.
This water, what we see here in Helsinki, this is all sea water. We don't have one lake, even though Finland is the country of thousands of lakes. So still, this is all salted seawater what we see here. Driving around the peak of the peninsula. To the glass roof up on the rocky hill to our right. Behind that, the French. There's also the Swiss embassy here and so on. The sea fortress, which we have out there on those islands, so that was established by the Swedes when we were part of the Swedish Empire, one could say, Swedish kingdom, and it was built against the Russians. Then during the 19th century it was a Russian fortress. Finland was in those days in the hands of the Russian Empire, and during the 20th century it has served first as a Finnish military fortress, but nowadays it's just, one could say, a normal city part. 850 people are living out there. On one island there is the Naval Academy. But these fortresses, they are listed on the UNESCO World Heritage list. To dry here as well. Usually they don't come and steal anything. People are still so honest here, and this is a free possibility offered by the city of Helsinki for everybody. So should you have a dirty carpet with you at the moment, you could try out the washing.
Wow.
Maybe the good washing results come out of the fact that the saltage here in these areas of the Baltic Sea that's not so high. It's only 0.5% approximately, which is 1/4 of the oceans. So maybe therefore, some people jokingly say that it's due to the fact that there is so much soap in the water, meaning the pollution, but that doesn't hold true. Since here the water in these areas are quite pure at the moment. You can swim, for instance, just at the moment there is a little island outside with red brickstone buildings sort of a little bit behind to the left, and that's one of the beaches of the city. You take a ferry from this Compass Square, which is now here on the left side, a little boat to go out to the island if you want to do swimming here in these areas of the city. So here we have on our left side among the most expensive ones if you let an apartment or if you own one. So for sure here you pay the highest prices. So often you are fortunate enough to find a boat place as well here in the vicinity, and people say jokingly this also that it would be worthwhile with this 250 euros to have a boat place and live there in the boat, especially in a summer like this which has been exceptionally warm, and to rent out your own apartment and make a good profit with that. But so it is in this city part of Eira and Unlanlinna, which we have Hietalahti Flea Market. Hietalahti Flea Market has also behind it this kind of little market hall, which is dedicated to antiques. Out of this 1/3 of the income.
Not bad. Sweden 25.
So only
18%.
Let's say about half,
18% tax.
approximately a little bit over half
Or
goes
about
to the
2,000
city purposes.
25
Local
euro,
purposes.
2500 euro.
The cemetery area here on the left side is a so-called old cemetery established in 1820s. In those days it was far outside the actual city. Helsinki was founded in 1550 But decisive for the growth of the city was the fact that it was made the capital in 1812. And in those days then, funniness is in our language. So that happened 2,000 years ago. The Laponians who were living in these areas were pushed back by the arriving Finns. Fishing and hunting not really forming a nation in those days. Then in the 12th century, a Swedish king made a crusade to Finland, made Finland part of the Swedish kingdom as a province, and also one could say zone called Seurasaari. Seurasaari has a collection of Finnish traditional buildings, wooden farmsteads, wooden city houses of the 17th and 18th centuries, for instance, a church being the oldest building, and so on. But still a little bit about the history. So we were for 650 years part of the Swedish kingdom. Swedes were having wars against the Russians all the time, and then one of the wars in the early 19th century, 1809, ended with the fact that Finland was given into the Russian hands. And we were part of the Russian Empire during the 19th century till 1917, when we gained the independence in the aftermath of the Russian Revolution. So Finland was part of Russia, but never part of Soviet Union. Well, we continue with the history of the city also a little bit later, now approaching our first stop of the tour. Here in these areas,
cái này nhờ mấy ngày nó chụp cho nè.
Cái này cái gì đó, cái này ai
the Olympic fire was taken to the stadium by Paavo Nurmi, whose statue is next to us on the left side. He lit the fire since he was the great flying Finn of 1920s who won in 3 different Olympic Games several gold medals. So he was the natural choice to light the fire in 1952. The stadium was also used for the World Championships in athletics. First in 19 we participated in. We had 2 wars, separate wars against Soviet Union, the so-called Winter War in 39, 40, and then the so-called Continuation War in 41, 44, resulting in this gathering in the opera festivals of Savonlinna, the city in eastern Finland, where it's been constructed recently also with other buildings. There used to be a big bus station in travel to Russia and over Siberia to China from this railway station if you want. There are 2 trains daily to St. Petersburg and moved over to Finland. Nowadays it is the biggest department store of the country, and of Nordic countries altogether, actually has expanded its functions in Russia. Side you can see there is this kind of dark facade building where there also is the word Stockman, big windows. That is the academic bookstore designed by Alvar Aalto, and for instance one of them in Latchel. This was also the place where they started building stone buildings, high-rises in the late 19th century. Earlier buildings were here out of wood, 2-story buildings, but the building at the moment behind the square, you take a ferry. If you go to the castle of Finland, Suomenlinna Sea Fortress, you can take cruises with these little boats. On the left, this one now to the left. This is the City Hall. City Hall, enter. The Emperor Alexander I, our Grand Duke, since Finland was having an autonomous position under the Russian rule, we were a Grand Duchy, the experimentary field. Some sort of power had the church in the 19th century. As you can see, there are Corinthian columns as well in the church. So Karut figure in the first beginning before they started building in 1816.
Spanish step á, phải không? Từ từ xe tour tới đây cũng đông ghê chứ.
city hall of in Finland. City hall. Làm to gì này?
Yeah, he was right. He was right there.
Ahead, on our left side, up on a rocky hill, we have the Orthodox Cathedral, which is by a Russian architect called Alexander Gornastayev, and the emperor donated quite a lot of money for the building works. Channel of Katajanotka, that is a lighthouse boat serving nowadays as a cafe. So 1868, this Russian Orthodox Church in Western Europe
Russian Orthodox Church
and represents this Byzantic Slavonic church building style of Russia.
Orada çok çıkardım az kaldı. Bu biraz gitsin onu. Dünkü herhalde eski mal. Dünkü mal. Đây bà Hê.
Kilo trái này mua kilo trái này nè. Ăn cho nó có trái cây. Bà muốn mua bread không ba? Muốn ăn uống không?
Hả?
Họ bên Mỹ đồng mà 4 năm cái salad này là 6 đồng cái đó mua. Trời ơi. 6 đồng này.
Wow. Lúc ngon lúc về cái
họ là đổ phiếu dầu để dùng gì không bà?
Đa số là một ngày từ 8 tiếng đồng hồ, còn như là đi Saint Peter nó đi khoảng chừng 2 ngày. What you up and down? What happened? No.
Up.
Sä oot vanha
Đây thì Australia đây hả? Đây là cái này nè, đó.
Đây nè, đi bộ đây nè bác.
Thì bằng cái chỗ này coi nè. Vô cái này coi nè.
Vô trong đó đó hả?
Ừ.
Cái lồng đó.
Ừ.
Tưởng nói cái nhà nâu nâu bên đây.
That's the old market during 1889. Đây thì này này. Open to the car. So come in, ma'am. Ma'am.
They open from 6 until 8 until 4 p.m.
Này có đồ giống Mỹ nè. Này do logo luôn đấy hả?
Bán mắt dữ chứ rẻ mà. Cái cá đó đó. À, mấy euro 1 kg cái cá đó đó.
Ồ. Làm sẵn mà không? Làm sẵn. Làm sẵn.
Cá này cá không hả? Cá sống không hả bà? Cá sống.
Cái này gì? Cái gì nè? Ba mấy đồng kilo nè, 35 kilo cái đó không?
Hồi sáng anh không biết anh ăn cái caviar ở trong cái chỗ mà hotel đó nè. Để em thấy nó để chậm.
Ồ cái này nè. Cái mình ăn nè. Sao? Cũng 21 đồng kilo chứ phải không? Đắt quá hả?
Ôi 44 đồng 1 kg cái con tôm đó.
Đắt quá.